Fishing old spots can bring back great memories of the good old days and learning how to fish. But over time, these same spots can become overfished or even change entirely. Water flow patterns can take loaded canals and leave them absolutely barren. But new spots also emerge and hold new life as well. I was on a mission to find out if my old honey hole was as good as it used to be, or if it was ruined forever. But maybe there still is hope for my favorite fishing spot.
That's a 10-pounder on a bed. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Maritime Expeditions. My name's Charles and I'm doing a little bit of freshwater fishing today. And today's a special day for me because I'm fishing a spot that I grew up fishing. This place is one of the places that I learned how to tie a knot, how to rig up a soft plastic, how to catch my first bass. All of that kind of happened at this spot. And it's been years and years and years since I fished here. And I'm excited to try it out because I've heard that it is not as good as it used to be. The spot used to be amazing. Used to catch 50 to 100 bass in a day at one point, but it's taken a steady decline, so I've been hearing, but I need to come out, test it out for myself. It's been way too long. I'm glad to be back. And what better thing to do than come out when it's a little windy and try out some old spots and get that nostalgic feeling. I grew up here. We used to ride our bikes out here as kids and walk around. We were only 13 years old because that's all we could do. We didn't have access to a boat, kayaks even. We had nothing. So we had a bike and a fishing pole and we made it happen out here. So that's kind of part of the reason I wanted to come out and try this out. I think it'll be a really interesting day. It'll be a lot of fun. But we're getting all set up back here. Got my fishing pole and got this fancy whip today because the one thing about this spot is that you have to walk a lot and I don't have all day. I want to get to spots as fast as possible and I don't really feel like walking. So we got a nice bike and we're gonna head out there now. It's gonna be a good day. Let's see what happens. I'm gonna make a couple casts kind of towards the floodgate there and just work my way up. I've heard there's some snook, there's some tarpon in here, more towards sunset, but I've personally never caught them here. Majority of the time it's Oscars, largemouth, and peacocks. We typically don't even fish this area, but I figured I'd give it a little try before I start. I've got time and see if we can't get a couple to bite. I don't know if you guys can see it, but take a look at the size of that tilapia down there. That's an absolute toad. I haven't seen one that big, probably ever, to be completely honest with you. I don't think I've ever seen a tilapia that sized. What a crazy place. Sorry if the audio is a little tough. This pump station is really, really loud because it's moving thousands and thousands of gallons of water every single second. But the more I walk around here, I'm not seeing really anything that excites me. I'll kind of show you what I'm looking at in the water here. So up along the edge, there's these big rocks in a couple places which would typically look pretty fishy, but the water's just moving so fast through here. You can see the algae just completely bent over. I walked up to a couple places and thought it was fish, but it wasn't. Oh, we just spooked a, that was an iguana, wasn't even a fish. So there you go. I mean, we're walking the side of it, but not seeing a whole lot. So we're gonna walk the pump station right now, kind of show you guys what's going on here with all this water that they're moving. It's pretty crazy if you really think about it. So this always blows my mind. You just see the amount of water that's moving through this place. There's a lot of conservation efforts about getting water to the Everglades, and this is exactly what they mean by that. Opening these floodgates allows that to happen. Check this out. Just look. It's absolutely incredible the amount of water that thing is pushing right now. Thousands and thousands of gallons pumping out to the Everglades and getting that water where it needs to go. Just flowing through this beautiful sawgrass behind us here. Now I can only remember a handful of times growing up as a kid where I came here and that floodgate was even open. Most of the time it was closed, maybe only a handful of times it was open. Now this prairie behind me here, and I call it a prairie because half the time we came, it was bone dry, and it's nice to see that all this water is just flowing through there, way out into the Everglades and getting filtered the natural way that it's supposed to be. So more than anything, I'm just glad to see that that water's flowing the proper way that it's supposed to and getting to where it needs to be. Now, whether or not there's gonna be fish there now is a great question, and it's funny, there's actually a no fishing sign, fishing permitted outside the fenced area. So as long as you're over there in this area, I don't think there's a ton of fish that are gonna be there right now with that amount of water moving. When it's closed, sometimes the fish stack up there, but I think that's a lost cause for today. But good thing to see the water's moving. Time to make it down to where this water is going and see if there's any fish there now. So like I said, I checked this out on Google Maps before I came to check to see, how the place looked, if anything had drastically changed, and I was right that a lot has changed. This area right here in front of me used to be filled with water and is now completely barren. Check this out. This grass field, I don't know if it was filled in even, but this used to be a lot deeper and there used to be water in here. We used to fish this spot right here all the time. There was peacocks, largemouths, sometimes we catch them topwater frogs here, but it leads directly out into the Everglades, into that sawgrass and that marsh water. But then again, on the other side, where I'm walking right now, there used to be absolutely nothing here, and now this is a beautiful marsh filled with water and looks how it's supposed to. Tons of life, little bait fish. I'm sure there's tons of fish that are back in there that I just can't see or get to. It would be a nightmare with all this grass. I'm sure there's alligators that have made their home back here. It's really cool to see how much it's changed, and I hope it's still good fishing. We're gonna see if we can't get a couple though. Oh, it's a huge bass. Oh my gosh, a huge largemouth. Huge blow up out there in that deeper water. Maybe that's where all these fish are hiding right now. Let's make a couple casts. This does look really good. This looks very fishy to me. Oh, there we go. First fish. Get on over here. What is it? Largemouth. Oh, stuck in the weeds. There we go. Wow, look at that one. Nice strike there on that largemouth. Beautiful. This is what I'm expecting to see here, and it may not seem so glamorous. It's a little fish, but that's what I'm hoping is here, honestly. With all this water moving, little fish may not be the most fun to catch, but it means there's more big fish, and it means these are gonna grow up and be healthy, and this is a really healthy, perfect looking largemouth right there. And he's aggressive, so that's good. Maybe we're onto something here. We'll see. Cast it back out there in that deeper water. Might be able to get some more fish just like that, but it's always a good... This may be weeds. Yeah. Huge clump of weeds. Man, I was getting excited. I was like, man, one after another. Well, here I am trying to leave, and I don't know how that happens, but a bird poops right on my seat. So now when I sit down, it's gonna look like I pooped myself. All right, this is the other area that used to just have tons of fish. And I'm a little worried because this water is very, very green right now, and it doesn't look very promising, to be quite honest. The amount of times that I've fell and busted my butt on these pipes, I would say you wouldn't believe, but I'm sure some of you would believe. But there used to be water flowing out of here, and these pipes would just flow and flow and flow, and there would be fish piled up under them. I'm not seeing a whole lot right now. It doesn't look like the water's been moving in a while, to be completely honest. So we'll see if there's anything. I'm gonna try a little worm, something a little slower, sinks down in this green water. It's got a little red shimmer to it. It's a watermelon colored worm, and I don't know, we'll see. Not looking very promising. We might have to go really, really far back to where we used to fish those other spots and maybe find some different color water, because this is just not looking very promising. There's a little largemouth right there, tiny guy. See if we can't get him to eat. Yep, and he took it. This worm is about the size of his body though, so I don't know if he's gonna be able to choke it down enough for me to get the hook set, but nope. He's right here under us again. Might come pick it up again. See if I can't get something that the peacock might want to eat. If these largemouth are gonna be difficult since they're so small. All right, I switched it up to this little, kind of like a beetle spin. See if we can get it to sink off the bottom there and entice one of these fish. Another thing is you gotta be real slow. One, so you don't fall, and one, that your feet make a lot of noise on these pipes. And that's a giant largemouth right there. That's probably a 4-pounder. See, that's the thing, like, I'm here really getting down on myself thinking that there's no fish here because none are biting, but there are fish. It's just whether or not we can see them, one, because this water's so cloudy. That one came up high enough to where I was able to actually see them, and that was a really, really solid looking fish. And maybe the spot's not bad. Maybe it's just the techniques have changed. The way we used to catch them here is different now than it is back then. I mean, sometimes you have to adapt. I see a Midas cichlid here, and that is the first time I have ever seen one of those in this spot, which is pretty crazy. Those aren't supposed to be here. All right, so I had fished this first side over here by these pipes where I was standing trying to catch a couple. Saw a couple fish, but nothing of size. Small largemouth ate, but couldn't get them hooked. So then I figured I'd come over to this other side, and it looks much more promising, but I've made a couple casts around here and still just not a whole lot going on. Pretty barren. There's one tiny little peacock right there, but this is where all that water's flowing from that pump station back there. So you'd think that there would be some fish piled up here by these pipes, but it doesn't really seem to be the case. There's a Midas cichlid that I saw, but haven't seen a bass other than that peacock right there, no largemouth. But this water is definitely a lot cleaner, and this leads out to another canal on that side. So we're gonna work our way down there. Horseflies are getting me now. We're gonna work our way down there and see if we can't get a couple. I mean, maybe people are right. Maybe my childhood fishing spot is ruined after all, but I'm still holding out hope. If anything, it's nice to be back out here again, but I really wish I was catching as many fish as I used to back here. We used to stand on these pipes, and I tell you, we'd wear them out one after another, nonstop, and it was a lot of fun, but this place has changed a lot. All right, I'm at this next spot now. There's a ton of tiny little largemouth bass here and there. Probably won't want to eat anything too big, so I cut a little Senko worm in half and hooked it up. I'm gonna see if we can't get anything to grab onto it. There's some tilapia out there. They might even want to eat this, actually. This already looks better to me just because of the amount of grass there is, and it just looks like a sanctuary for bass to live in. I mean, look at all this grass and weeds that are in here. I'd have to think there's a little bass in here that wants to eat. It hasn't been easy today, though. There we go. Just like I thought. Oh, there he goes. He's gonna need some help, but look at that. Little largemouth bass. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. All this grass here is just perfect breeding ground for these little guys. And if we can't find the big ones, I'm definitely gonna try and keep myself busy with some of the little ones until I can find some. That's pretty cool though. I'm gonna get back up here on the shore so I can see a little better. Oh, I already got another one. Here we go. That is pretty cool. I know it's not anything to write home about as far as bass fishing goes, but we might have found a little secret here with the Senko worm cut in half to catch some of the babies. There seems to be a lot right here already. I've caught twice the amount of fish I've caught all day in 2 casts, which isn't saying much, but it's progress nonetheless. I'm just gonna walk this shoreline here because I know, just like those other ones, there's some laying around right here in this area. Already got another one. Oh, he slipped off. Oh, hold on, easy, easy. I'll be real careful with these guys. Parking lot largemouth. See you, buddy. Cool. There we go. It's a little bigger. Still definitely a small one for sure, but one of the bigger ones so far. This is cool, man. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. I mean, we're not having a ton of luck back there. All these spots that I used to hit for years and catch monster fish, peacock, largemouth, you name it, it just hasn't been happening today. So we're trying a different area here. We used to fish around here, but I've never fished this exact part. And there's just tons of grass, tons of little largemouth, and if that's what we have to catch today, that's what we have to catch today. I'll keep myself busy with it, but we'll send that guy back. Little nose dive there, and I'm gonna wear these things out on this little Senko worm. If that's all that's biting, I'm not gonna go for the big fish all day long if I'm not seeing them and if they're not biting. If these little ones are gonna keep me busy, I'm more than happy to catch these. We got planes flying over us. Check that out. That's pretty cool. We're out here. This spot is actually right behind the Homestead Airport. So there's a lot of planes doing flight training, gliders, all sorts of aircraft activity. That's another reason why we can't fly the drone today as much as I'd like to and show you guys this beautiful place. There's a lot of air traffic right now, which is pretty cool to see them fly over your head though. Seems like I've got one there. There we go. Largemouth. Little guy, but definitely the biggest one today, I would say. There we go. Nice. Nice little largemouth. Cool. Found this little area of trees here that looks pretty good. Some good grass on this side at least. Can't really see over there, but it's definitely a couple fish. This little Senko that I cut in half seems to be doing the trick. It's just small enough so that those smaller bass can get it in their mouth all the way, and got a little J hook on there so we're able to set that hook. See if we can't get a couple here. Another good sign is it's always good to see bobbers or lures hanging from the trees at a spot you're thinking about fishing, because it means it's good enough to where someone fished here before you. And another thing is sometimes it's even good to mimic what they're using. So someone might be here and they're using a certain color jig head, and you might want to use that to get some more strikes. Already looks like we're getting bit here. I'm gonna go on it and see. Maybe not. May have just been sinking a little faster. Well, I turned out to be just like those people that lost their stuff in the trees, so I don't know, time to switch it up. The Senko worm was working, but with the kind of day like we're having, it might make sense to try something different completely. Maybe try a fluke with a little jig head like that. That could work. I'm not really sure. I think I might go back to this jerk bait that I was using earlier. The bass really seemed to be interested in it where I was, but there was a lot of weeds, so I couldn't really work it properly, but here it may just work. So, and like I always say, when you have a tough day of fishing, it really gives you time to enjoy your surroundings, whether you're out on the boat, in the ocean. Enjoy where you're at. I'm out here in the Everglades today. This is my home, this is my backyard, this is where I grew up fishing, and it's really nice to be able to just enjoy this place even when you're not catching fish. And that's something I've come to learn with this whole YouTube journey, being able to make content for you guys. Some days aren't the best, and it really makes you appreciate those good days when you're out here and you really have everything come together for you. There's still time in the day, things can change, but just being able to come out to new places and see if they're still good. Unfortunately, this hasn't been the experiment that I wanted it to be so far today, but I still think it's worth showing you guys, because on YouTube, there's tons of people that'll make everything look like they catch fish every single time, and that's just simply not the case. And professional fishermen, more skilled than me, go out and have hard days too, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. It happens to everybody, but it's about learning when you come into new spots like this. Like today, I'm learned that I'm not gonna come back here for a while again, probably. But all jokes aside, you learn new tips and tricks. I cut that Senko in half and caught a couple little baby bass like that. That's a little technique that I have in the arsenal now for whenever I go bass fishing from here, which is pretty cool to have. So gonna see if we can't pluck a couple off, try out some different stuff that I maybe wouldn't try, and see if we can get a couple more, but being out here is still hard to beat. First oh, no. I lost him in the grass there. Oh. Gotta be careful in here. First little cast, once I move spots, cast it up there. It looks like a little trough where there's some moving water. Largemouth, smoked it immediately on the jerkbait. So it's a good sign that they're active. I'm looking for any sort of life I can get today. It's been tough, but there's a little ravine there, it seems, where fish might be sneaking out of. It sure is nice having the electric bike, I can tell you that. It makes you much more mobile, being able to hit a lot of spots a lot faster than I would be if I was pedaling. There's a 10-pound bass right here. No joke, there's a 10-pound bass right here. Oh my God. Oh my God, that is a freaking giant. That is a freaking giant. That's a 10-pounder. That's at least a 10-pounder. It's on a bed. That's a 10-pounder on a bed. Okay. Okay. Let's be careful and do this right. I literally thought it was a log. That's a giant bass. Guys, this is a freaking giant. I hope he likes a Senko worm. I don't know what to throw at him right now, but I need to just get something at him quickly. He's sitting right there. Oh my goodness gracious, he's huge. He's absolutely huge. He's on a bed. Okay, I got one. It's nice, but it's not even the big one. Oh my gosh. Okay, this isn't even the big one. There's two this size sitting right next to him, and the big one is right next to him. Oh my goodness gracious. That's a toad already. That's a really nice fish. But the other one is way bigger. I can't believe I'm just throwing this guy back this fast, but that's a 2-pound fish, maybe 3, and I'm tossing him because the one next to him could eat this one easily. He's going back in. I need another worm. Oh my goodness gracious, guys. This thing is gigantic. This thing is gigantic. Try and be as smooth as possible. Hopefully he's still there. Oh my gosh, he's still there. This thing is huge. Absolutely huge. He's moving. Oh my gosh, he's heading towards it. He's right next to it. Oh my gosh, he might be eating it. This bass is absolutely giant. I need that sun to come back out. I can't see him right now. I'm gonna throw everything I have in this box at this fish until he eats. I am not gonna give up on this fish because this thing is absolutely giant. I can't even believe after the day I've had of catching tiny baby peacocks or tiny baby largemouths that this is a giant right here in front of me. Wow, I cannot believe that. that I saw a bass that size today after all these little ones we've been messing with. He moved off now. I'm not sure where he went. He was sitting though right here. Let me get a little closer now. He was sitting right on that bed right there, on that little patch of gravel and sand. He was sitting right there, and when I came, there was a bunch of little babies around him, and there was two nicer sized fish right next to him. I caught one of them, obviously, but I don't know if that spooked him off. He was bedding for sure, so he wasn't really actively trying to hunt, but if I could have got something in his face where he would have smacked it, it could have been possible. Man, that's a heartbreaker. That is a heartbreaker. That was a giant fish. Every bit of 8 to 10 pounds for sure, no doubt in my mind. I'm gonna keep walking the shoreline here a little bit, see if maybe I see him cruising up and down the shoreline, but I think that fish just sunk off into the weeds there. He might come back, so I'm gonna give him a few minutes, and then I'm gonna try and hit that before I leave, but wow, incredible. If I can get that one to eat, you know it was big because I let that 2-3 pounder go like it was nothing. After the day I've had, I would have made a bigger deal about catching one of those, but man, that's crazy. All right, well, personally, I've never been this far down. The luxury of having the electric bike has let me explore a little more than I would have been able to when I used to come here. It's a nice bass right there. I know, that's a jaguar cichlid. This is very interesting. Oh my goodness, there's a ton of cichlids here. A ton over on that side. This water is just so green. Stagnant water. This, I'm sure, was all filled with water at one point. And whatever was out there had to have ended up in here somehow. Look at all the bait just piled up in here. That is really cool. Yeah, those are definitely jaguar cichlids. Super cool. I can't think too many people have fished here. I mean, there's some trash over here, so definitely some people come out here, but not like it is right at the front where you park the truck. That's definitely got a lot more foot traffic than this area I'm at right now, because I've come here hundreds of times and have never been back here, so I can't think the general public knows a whole lot about this, but I could be wrong. Well, I've tried a couple different things. Nothing seems to really want to work in here. They're all tiny little cichlids and some little bass in here, but mostly cichlids and other little bait fish, little tilapias and stuff in here. Tons of little baits, but again, no water out there. It's crazy to think that all the water out there ended up in here, and this is all that's left, and that's where all those fish are. But you'd think they'd be super hungry and eat just about anything, but that definitely hasn't been the case right now. So I don't know, it's getting late. I think I'm gonna go try and see if that largemouth is back at that spot where I left him. Fingers crossed he's there and he's angry enough to eat something this time. But this is all really, really cool. Even when you're not catching fish, just being out here to see this, like, the Everglades is beautiful in itself, but being able to see like how it's operated and all this water management tools that they use is pretty crazy to see how they're moving this water to where it needs to go. I find it fascinating. Hopefully you guys do too, but I think it's really, really cool. Well, I'm back, but I don't see him, unfortunately. Man, that's a tough pill to swallow right there. That fish is gone. There's still a few little minnows and baby fish here. It's a small bass there, but the three that were sitting right here are just gone. He was sitting on that little pile there. But, oh, there's one right there actually. Little guy still, but tough to see. I thought after I gave him a little bit of time, he might come back, but sometimes that's how it goes. Really would have been a nice cherry on top of a not so crazy day, but hey, that's how it goes sometimes. It's getting late though. Sun's getting a little low, and I'm ready to start heading back towards the pump station, maybe hit a spot or two on the way. But it's been a fun day. Not every day, like I said, not every day is a banner day, but every day you learn something is a good day. So I'm gonna hop back on my trusty old bike right here, start making our way home. Well, I think that is it for me today. It's been a long, hard day of trying to catch the fish, but sometimes it just happens like that. Still really cool to be able to come out here and just see how crazy of a production it is getting water throughout the Everglades. I think seeing all the machinery and the process that goes behind it is really interesting to me, and it's part of the reasons I love fishing here so much, and what makes this such a cool spot to me, and why I grew up coming here as a kid, and why I'll make it back here one day, maybe not soon. It was a really tough day trying to catch fish. We did see that absolute monster at the end. I'm gonna have nightmares about that one, but that's just fishing. It's like, when you see a fish like that, it's like hitting a good golf shot at the end of a long round. It keeps you coming back, and that's exactly what happened today. But I can't thank you guys enough for watching. It means the world to me that you guys are watching these videos. Today was a little bit of a slower one. I appreciate those who stuck around and just enjoyed being out here with me. I think it's really cool to show, and even when you don't catch a ton of fish, there's lots to learn, and we definitely did that today. So I appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned for what we got going on. We got a whole bunch of really, really cool stuff. As always, I'm trying to keep this as action-packed and as fun as possible for you. Some days are like today, they're not as fun, but sometimes they are still worth showing, and I think it was today. So appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, keep up with what we got going on, and we'll see you in the next one.